Hello everyone, welcome to the third webinar of the Center for Professional Selling. My name is Deva Rangarajan and I'm the Interim Director of the Sales Center. And today we are thrilled to have a speaker not from the local locations but actually from across the pond. We actually have an expert on the concept of marketing automation, and we had to go across the pond to find an expert on it, and it's my pleasure to welcome Ms. Silke Snijers from a company called Lead Fabric that actually focuses a lot on the concept of marketing automation. Now, before we get into that, the purpose of this webinar is actually building up on the previous one where we had Professor Eric Harvey come and talk about the fact that marketing is the new sales and sales is the new marketing, where he talked a lot about how marketing advances in technology are actually shaping how marketing is playing a key role in helping the sales organizations in B2B, business to business organizations as well. So we thought, why not ask experts who are actually helping other organizations do this? And so we have Ms. Silke Snijers, who will be sharing some of her insights into this. So again, let me please join me in welcoming Ms. Silke Snijers. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. So before we begin, if you could just briefly introduce yourself, what is it that you do and what does the company that you work for do? That would be great.
Hi Deva, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. That were great words, thank you. So as you already introduced me, my name is Silke Snijers and I work for Lead Fabric. It's a Brussels-based agency, basically. And we were one of the pioneers to bring marketing automation in Europe. That was, I think, more than 10 years ago already. But then it was quite exotic, but now more and more,
It's very interesting. It's great that you mentioned that it's been 10 years and 10 years ago it was exotic. But you know, even to this day, we talk a lot with companies, and a lot of business to business companies still do not have an idea about marketing automation. So if you could actually briefly tell our audience, what is marketing automation? And sure, 10 years ago it was exotic, but why is it important today?
Yeah, well, if I have to give a definition, then I would say that marketing automation is basically a category of technology that allows companies to automate and to measure marketing activities to increase efficiency and grow revenue faster. But today, we're not really talking about marketing automation, but we're talking about engagement platforms. Because there are so many digital channels nowadays to reach customers, and the challenge is basically to find out how and when and why they want to be engaged. It's more important now to deliver a consistently authentic and personalized experience. And your question is, why is it important today? And for me, there are basically three reasons why it is very important today. And the first one is that buyers have really changed. Like a decade ago, information was scarce, and we used to rely on salesmen to advise us on which product and brand we needed to satisfy our needs. But today, this has completely changed. When we're considering a purchase, we will inform ourselves, research the different types, products, brands, and we already know what we want before we go to the store. But sometimes it's even we know more than the salesman when we arrive in the store. So we have these multiple touch points via multiple channels, and this means that marketing's role has become much more complicated than it was years ago. And today we need tools for that, and to feed this educational phase, we just need technology for that. So that's the first reason, and also because we are faced with the fact that buyers are getting thousands of commercial messages every day, and everything that you send, it must be extremely relevant to the buyer in order to be picked up in the first place. And as I already said, this can be done manually to a certain extent, but when your database becomes too large, you will need systems to orchestrate all of this. And then a second reason why it is important today is because marketing automation really allows you to build a bridge between marketing and sales. In the end, marketing should help sales to bring in revenue. You know, it's of course building a strong brand is important, but marketing is just not about reach, likes, and clicks, and this is what we call vanity metrics. And at the end of the day, it's just that marketing needs to support sales to bring revenue in, and with marketing automation, you can send more qualified, hotter leads to sales due to scoring mechanisms, and in addition, show them which leads need priority. So sales will also have visibility on important behavior that was tracked by marketing. And this just, it makes your sales team more efficient, and you will get a higher ROI, and sales and marketing become more aligned. And then there is a third reason why I think marketing automation is important, and that is because there is an increasing pressure on marketing. You know, with more and more tools and technology available, there is an increasing pressure to show results and to show ROI. And with marketing automation, you really can provide these insights. Which campaigns were successful, for example, what action generated leads, how much did a new lead cost, and also, yeah, which campaigns led to the highest conversion. So this is really important information nowadays. So yeah, we can say that there is a large role for marketing automation.
Well, it's spoken like a true person who's passionate about marketing automation. So actually, from what you say is that your buyers have changed a lot today, and you need ways by which you need to engage with the buyers. And you also mentioned the fact that, well, of course, this calls for better interaction between marketing and sales. I think that's pretty much what I heard you say. And the last but not the least is that marketing automation helps you actually go back and say, well, for every dollar or euro that you spend, now that you're in Brussels, every euro that you spend on your marketing campaigns and marketing efforts leads to actually concrete sales results and hence ROI. Am I correct in understanding that these are the three reasons why marketing automation is important today?
Yeah, definitely. In my opinion, these are the three most important reasons. Why marketing automation is becoming such a, it has become a necessary tool, so to speak, or a necessary platform that you need to have in your business today.
Indeed. Silke, one of the things that is pretty interesting that you mentioned, you touched upon the fact that, of course, that today that buyers are more informed, and then of course that marketing automation helps bridge marketing and sales. But when you mentioned shoppers, I immediately was thinking, is marketing automation only in a B2C or a business to consumer setting, or is it more also applicable in business to business settings?
I think, in my opinion, it's even more important in the B2B space, because B2B purchases are usually quite high involvement decisions. Think of machinery, software, and all those complex interdisciplinary and intercontinental teams involved. It requires more investment in terms of time, in terms of people, and in terms of budget. And also decision makers in companies are pressured as they will be held accountable by the company for what they did. There is this phrase we often hear, you never get fired for bringing in IBM, because it is the safest option, and it's also good for your ego. But not every company is an IBM, of course, but marketing automation really allows you to act like one. And in B2B, some sales cycles could take up to 1 year. And this means that you will have to adapt your communication and keep feeding your prospects with the right and relevant message at the right time until he's ready to buy. And this could take up to 1 year in some specific cases, especially machinery, for example. And for companies with a very large deal size, losing opportunities is extremely costly. If you make the comparison to B2C, where it's sometimes a product of 10 euros or even less, here these are very large deals. So B2B companies should really think of effective and efficient ways to nurture their leads.
Well, that's very interesting. You mentioned the fact that it's about nurturing leads, which actually leads me to my next question. Is, yes, you talked about marketing automation, bringing marketing and sales together. but concretely, how does marketing automation help salespeople today? And if you could talk about it in a B2B context, that will be great, actually.
Okay. Yeah, so as I said already, today most of the research is already done up front on the web. And therefore, because there is a lot of education before touching sales, the sales team really needs to know who this buyer is and needs to understand the journey to communicate as relevant as possible. It's not that sales has become less important, it's rather the opposite. Their role has changed and they really need to be informed before talking to the buyer. And this is actually where marketing automation can help and give sales an accurate view of the potential buyer. This means that there's no cold calling anymore, and sales really need to be informed about who the customer is he is going to approach. And this requires more effort from the sales team, who is already limited in time. That's what we often hear. And here marketing automation can really help by implementing scoring mechanisms, which make sure that they only get really hot leads. And this actually means that marketing now already filters a large part of the leads and only give the warm, the hot ones to sales.
Let me just, so when you said scoring mechanisms, you're talking about scoring mechanisms for leads.
Yeah.
That's what you meant.
Yeah, that's basically where we give points based on their behavior and based on demographic information, for example. You really define what an ideal customer for you looks like. And then based on behavior, you will show interest and you will engage with your company. And that's how you know when a lead is really, when that one is the one you need to have. You know?
Indeed. Now, actually, it's interesting to talk about leads because one of the things that we hear a lot about is that the salespeople today are talking to many people in the one customer's organization. Can marketing automation also help saying that, personalize that message as well? That is, so for example, if I go in and in a B2C, we only talk to one person. I want to sell to Silke, Silke buys it. Whereas when you said you're looking at machineries or software, or it's complex deals where sales cycle time could take a year, but there could be different people in the customer's organization who might be making that decision. So can we personalize, can marketing automation help you personalize that message, which salespeople used to do in the past?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, your communication needs to be adapted. The one who is using the product in a company is not necessarily the one who is buying it. So they're already, you have to make a difference in communication, definitely.
And marketing automation can help you do that as well. So it's
of course, yeah.
Wow.
But of course, there is research up front. You need to know how a buying team looks like in a company. This requires research. Of course, marketing automation does not automatically identify for you what the roles are in a company. That is research, and it's company specific, and that's something you do up front, of course.
That's an excellent point, because I think too many people look at marketing automation just as technology and forget the homework. That homework part has not changed 10 years, 15 years, it's always going to be there. But of course, the question is, once you have the homework, how do we use technologies like marketing automation to help salespeople? I guess that's pretty much where you would come in and say, what relevant information, who are we seeing in the customer's organization, and then bring it from there.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Actually, that brings me to the question, because we talk a lot about something called as the demand waterfall. I think the more I hear you say things like looking at leads and lead scoring, it actually brings me to the concept of the demand waterfall by Sirius Decisions. So I guess marketing automation is all about looking at the demand waterfall and seeing how you can help organizations help the sales force. Great. Actually, that brings me to my next question, which is, you talked about helping salespeople, but if you have to do homework, if marketing automation is about doing homework, helping salespeople, measurement, what are actually the building blocks of marketing automation?
Yeah. Well, you need a lot of things. It's not something you buy and it does all the work. You first of all, you need a good digital strategy. Of course, this will change. The strategy will change using the platform. It will evolve, but you need to have a digital strategy, a digital savvy team as well. It's a new tool again, and your team needs to be able to adapt and to get onboarded on a marketing automation platform. And then, yeah, of course, a clean database is also quite important. Integration with other systems and tools. CRM integration is the basis, basically. That's what you really, to get the most or out of your marketing automation platform, is CRM integration. That's something you definitely need. And then, of course, you will need programs, campaigns, assets such as emails. You need landing pages, you need forms, you need templates. And then, yeah, lead scoring programs, lead qualification rules. And yeah, you need to set everything up. So you might need an implementation partner. That's also something that we do. It's good to start. You basically need a good start, otherwise it's gonna go wrong.
Wow, it looks like marketing automation is really coming to speed, because having a digital strategy, I guess most B2B companies even struggle with having a clear customer strategy,
definitely.
forget digital. So I think it's very interesting. And then, of course, what you're saying is that the digital strategy should then translate into people that can work on this, a clear idea about the campaigns, and last but not the least, if you mention that you have to help salespeople, then the idea is that there should be integration with a CRM that you're looking at. Wow, so essentially, yeah, I guess every project that you do, you get pretty involved with different people in the customer's organization who are actually implementing marketing automation. But the next question I have is that, yeah, sure, marketing automation is supposed to work wonders and stuff like that. There's more and more spend on things like marketing automation. And if you take a look at the Gartner Magic Quadrant, you have all of these different players coming out there and talking about marketing automation. But what are some of the myths that people should be careful about when they think about marketing automation?
Yeah, well, I think you just mentioned the first one, that it's a machine, that it's a lead machine. I've heard customers saying before that their map doesn't generate enough qualified leads. And as for everything in this world, of course, output depends on input. It depends on what you put in that machine. And yeah, an engagement platform will make things easier, but it's not something that you just run in the background. It requires continuous monitoring, optimization. Yeah, it's not just a machine, of course. And this is something, it's often a misunderstanding. Another misunderstanding is that it's an email tool. This is particularly true in Europe, where we are lagging behind on USA. And if you use a map as an email tool, you will not get all the ROI that these platforms promise you in the first place. It requires maintenance and continuous monitoring. And sending out emails will be the first step, but it's important to go out of this mode and to really start integrating with multiple channels as soon as your team is ready. Another myth is that it stands for trigger-based marketing, which is also not the case. For example, if you visit a website, it will immediately send an email. Absolutely not true, because over time, we gather information and adapt our communication accordingly. So some information or behavioral data may sit in systems for days or weeks before it's actually used. This is exactly the power of marketing automation, where we build a profile over time of the lead. And then maybe a last one is that it's not a golden key to all metrics and data that you have ever wanted to capture and understand. That there are limitations. There is a lot that can be tracked and followed up on, but in the end, these are actual people, and decision processes cannot always be tracked in the numbers itself. So not everything is quantifiable or measurable.
But actually, that brings me to one of the things that you see a lot of things happening today about Facebook, with all the things about them capturing information and privacy information, all that stuff. I know that in Europe you have GDPR about how much you can collect data about individuals and what you can do with it. And I guess one of the myths that maybe you're increasingly going to face, not just in Europe but also everywhere, is what are you going to be doing with the data that you're collecting? How is that going to be used? And is that something that marketing automation experts should be concerned about going forward?
Well, I think that our customers that have a marketing automation platform need to worry less than those who don't have, because it is a central place where you can orchestrate everything and where you can keep track of all the things you need to be tracking in order to be GDPR compliant. It's really something that can help you get compliant, because you need to, of course, you can still use marketing automation, you can still profile, but you just need to inform the people you're communicating with that you're doing this. Of course, our databases will get a lot smaller. This is true, but I think that this is an increasing pressure on marketing teams today to get even more relevant. It's just not possible anymore to send out random messages. No, it needs to be exactly what the lead is expecting at that moment. Just be relevant, and I think it's even a good thing. Although many people don't like to hear the word, but if you have a marketing automation platform, there are definitely ways to get GDPR compliant.
Indeed. So again, absolutely, that's very interesting that GDPR, or whatever is the term used in different parts of the world for privacy laws and everything else, it's very important, I guess, that you need to have a very clear view on how you do not violate on the privacy and the information that you collect about customers as well. But now that we got rid of some of the myths, the fact that you should not look at it as a technology, that despite the fact that it's not a silver bullet that's going to help you solve all the problems, that you need to make sure that you analyze the data, you constantly engage with the customers and not look at it just as email, if I understand what you said, is, but then apart from the building blocks where we talked about having a strategy, having a team, what are the other essentials you could think of or you come across when you think about implementing marketing automation for a B2B organization?
Well, I would say to start with is proper preparation. The configuration itself, it's straightforward. We've done it 100 times, and if you know exactly how it should be set up, then it's all right. But there are 1,000 ways to configure an engagement platform, and you really need to think about it, because it will really impact the way of working for a team. So definitely preparation, I would say, and also take enough time to discover your leads and buyers' needs in order to really start personalizing your communication. It's also what I said earlier is that you really should investigate in the purchasing team, for example, who is buying your product, and then you can start personalizing, but it will not personalize the messages by itself. And then I would also say proper training, because often we see that customers want to limit the investment by cutting budget on training. But if you don't let your team learn how it is done in a platform, they will always depend on outside agencies, for example, like us. And we could say it's a good thing because it generates business for us. But we typically see that these are the hardest accounts to manage, simply because they often don't know what they're talking about and haven't first strategically set together.
Oh, great. So my final question, Silke, is before you go and enjoy your weekend, is what does success look like? Because most of the time when we used to talk about CRM in the past, people did not really know what success would look like. So I'm very curious to see if you have run a marketing automation campaign, what should success look like that you've done a good job in running a marketing automation kind of project?
Yeah, well, it depends on your business. Success in marketing automation can express itself in multiple ways. You can increase the efficiency and productivity of your marketing and sales team. You can build a stronger brand because you are consistent and more personal in your communication style. Some companies really need to rethink their digital strategy because they bring a platform in, which is also great because otherwise they will stay behind. Better alignment between sales and marketing. You have more qualified leads, and also that you are able to measure what works and what doesn't work. So you can allocate your resources better, which in turn gets you higher ROI. Huh? So yeah, success can express itself in multiple.
Absolutely, and I can easily see that you worked with many organizations, and each organization has its own definition of success, depending upon where they start from when they first come and work with you guys as well. Well, Silke, thank you so much. I know that a lot of our audience right now are still curious about marketing automation, still struggle with it, and we hope that this meeting and the way you've answered some of the questions can actually help certain people understand marketing automation a little bit more, what it is not, and most importantly that it's not just a software or a tool that you just put out there and it works magic. Thank you so much for your time, and I really do wish that you have more success in all of your projects out there in marketing automation, and we sincerely hope that this webinar that you helped us with will go a long way towards helping our audience as well. Thank you very much. Stay tuned. Thank you very much. And stay tuned where the next webinar will be about actually digging deeper into marketing automation, where we'll have another expert from across the pond talk to you about how would you go about implementing marketing automation. Thank you very much.